everyone. Welcome back to Employee Benefits with Jessica, where we simplify employee benefits and empower you to make informed decisions for your team. Today, we are diving into a critical topic addressing employee benefits concerns. We'll cover the most common concerns employees have, frequently asked questions about claims and coverage, and even a quick role play to show you how you can handle these questions effectively. Let's jump in. When it comes to employee benefits, employees often feel overwhelmed. Remember, these plans can be confusing, especially if someone is dealing with a health issue or a large medical bill. Common questions include things such as, how do I know if my doctor is in network? What exactly does my plan cover? Why was my claim denied? What can I do about it? What is the process for using an HSA or an FSA for out-of-pocket expenses? Some quick tips for HR managers: make sure that you provide clear, written resources during onboarding and open enrollment. Hold question and answer sessions to address employee-specific scenarios. Encourage your employees to use the insurer tools like the apps, portals, and helplines for faster answers. And as always, you should really lean on your benefits broker to help you with these issues. So let's set the stage, and we're going to say that Sarah is coming to you as an HR professional with a question. So Sarah says, I recently visited a specialist, and now I received a bill saying my insurance didn't cover it. I'm not sure what to do. As the HR professional, you should say something along the lines of, thanks for bringing this to me, Sarah. Let's take it step by step. First, do you have a copy of the bill and the explanation of benefits? Let us check if the provider is in network. If not, there might be out-of-network charges, but some plans still offer partial coverage for those. If it is a denied claim, I'll help you understand why. Sometimes it's a simple fix, like missing paperwork or coding errors. I also recommend calling the insurer for clarification. I can help you prepare for the call if needed. Let's wrap up. You're not alone. Let's solve this together. As an HR professional, there are some common things that you can help your employees walk through. Number one, it may seem simple, but if you've changed insurance carriers anytime over the last 3 years, it is a good idea to check and make sure your employee is using the right ID card. Unfortunately, this can happen. We get ID cards in the mail and we get confused. It's a lot of information. So it's easy to save an old or outdated member ID card. If that happens, then the provider is going to submit the claim to the wrong insurance company and it will be denied. Oftentimes in that scenario, however, employees or members are asked to pay money up front for their services because the individual at the provider's office will not be able to access their insurance record using the old insurance card. So they'll assume that they don't have any insurance coverage and will treat the claim accordingly. What else could happen? For some plans, like a point of service plan or an HMO plan, you are required to get a referral to see a specialist. If you don't have a referral from your primary care provider, that specialist office visit is going to be denied and not covered. It is a barrier to entry, and these plans are designed to encourage individuals to really work with one provider, their primary care provider, and have that primary care provider help them to address all of their health issues and concerns because it's a managed type program. So that is something that could also happen. Additionally, most health insurance plans have something called either a pre-authorization or a prior authorization for coverage. Even if a plan does not require a referral for a specialist, there are many tests that specialists do that would trigger a requirement for a authorization. These authorizations are required to be provided by the provider. So it's the provider's responsibility to submit the necessary paperwork to for the insurer to review, to authorize, if you will, those services. And if those services aren't authorized through that process, they're going to be denied on the claim. In those instances, it's typically working with the insurer to figure out what was missing, working with the provider to submit the necessary paperwork, including any documents to justify what's called medical necessity. Medical necessity is the criterion which insurers use to determine whether those services really were necessary, not whether you really needed them. No, that's really not what they're looking at. They're looking at whether those services would be recommended typically either by the FDA or their clinical guidelines. Every insurer has a set of clinical guidelines, and they might use guidelines from another insurer. That's common as well. They borrow guidelines. And those clinical guidelines are going to explain which services are covered, which services are not covered, and why. And so going through those guidelines can provide some very helpful information to understand services that might not be covered. Specialists that treat weight loss typically are not going to be covered at all on a fully insured plan. Most fully insured plans do not cover weight loss treatment of any kind. It's not medically necessary. And even if it is potentially deemed medically necessary because the individual has a chronic condition and it's exacerbated by their weight, and if they got their weight under control, they'd be healthier, they'd get their diabetes under control. Plans that exclude weight loss exclude weight loss. Even if it is medically necessary, it's excluded from coverage. So it's important to have, I discussed this in an earlier video, a certificate of coverage or an enrollee certificate, a summary of benefits, and coverage isn't enough. You have to have the actual policy documentation, member-facing materials that has the entire list of excluded items. There are times when a service might not be listed explicitly as excluded in the policy document, and that's where the clinical guidelines come into play. Now, I don't expect you as an HR professional to know how to navigate the situation or how to look for everything, but it is helpful to show empathy to your employee and help walk them through some simple steps. Hopefully, ideally, you would have an employee benefits broker who is well versed in claims issues and can help walk the employee through the situation. They will need a HIPAA authorization, and each carrier, each insurer has their own authorization form, even though HIPAA says that they should be able to accept any. Unfortunately, there's a lot of red tape, and it's just going to slow the process down. They're not going to speak, the insurer is not going to speak to you as an HR professional. They're not going to speak to a broker on behalf of any member without a signed HIPAA release. Now, the exception is you could call with the member on the line and ask questions so that you can help walk them through those questions and answers on a conference call with the member or employee with the question and the insurance company, and then they can help explain that and you can help guide that conversation. That's certainly an option, and that's something that some brokers can do as well. Not every benefits broker is the same. Some are going to say, call that 800 number on the back of your card and go from there. If an appeal is in order, because it seems that in this case, Sarah had a specialist visit, it wasn't covered. If it's not because she needed a referral to a specialist, if it's not because it wasn't medically necessary or a prior authorization, maybe there was a coding error, you could look at that as well. And maybe it's something as simple as an appeal. Usually for the pre-authorization process, they're looking at things such as, did you do everything that you could have done with your primary care provider first? Did you try over-the-counter medication? Did you have the right tests that would warrant a specialist seeing you? Did you try physical therapy, depending if you're trying to see an orthopedic surgeon and there's something wrong with your back, let's say? Often those pre-authorization requirements are going to state that the individual needs to have tried for so many months over-the-counter medications, ice, rest, and then after that, so many months of physical therapy and other methods of treatment prior to seeing an orthopedic surgeon or looking for some sort of surgical route. There are also lots of services that just aren't covered under insurance. Doesn't mean that they're not necessarily medically necessary or that they're not approved by the FDA. Some might be, but under the clinical guidelines that the insurer uses, it's just simply not covered. They find that other treatments or services are just as effective, and they are trying to control costs. And in that situation, you can also appeal it. And what would be necessary for that appeal would be the medical records from the provider stating just why the specialist visit was necessary and any treatment protocols that they're recommending are necessary as well. If the provider was not in the network, something such as a specialist visit is not going to be considered an emergency service, so it will not be covered under the No Surprises Act and then treated as in network. That's just not an option for a specialist visit, which is why we always encourage individuals to make sure that the provider that they're seeing is in network first, upfront, before they even have that service. They can call the number on the back of the card. They can call their provider's office. Often somebody at the provider's office is going to know which networks they're in. It's always better, though, to call the number on the back of your card or log into the member portal and view whether your doctor is in network in that situation. Lean on your broker so that they can help you with these things. If you don't have a broker that can help you, can research options for claims advocates. Claims advocates often do have a fee for their service that is important for you to know. The plan document is going to help walk you through all of the information necessary for an appeal, so you can help walk your employee through that process. Again, you could reach out to your broker's office and see what kind of support they offer for claims resolutions. So what can you take away from this? To sum it up, here is how we can tackle employee benefits concerns effectively. Number one, be empathetic. Acknowledge that benefits are complex. Number two, educate yourself on the most common plan details and terms. When you are better educated, you can better help your employees navigate their benefits questions and concerns. Number three, empower your employees by guiding them to the right resources. Number four, advocate for their needs. Sometimes your support makes all the difference. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your other HR professionals, and leave a comment below about the biggest benefit question you've ever handled. I would love to hear your stories. Until next time, remember, empowering employees with the right benefits knowledge enriches everyone's lives. Take care.